Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a very special Films and Stuff episode. I'm Ethan, joined, as always, by the most valuable Pete. Hey, Pete. How are you?
I am good, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. Today, we have a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let me ask you to please reiterate what is the concept behind Stream or Skip.
All right, so Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows for each other to watch. Every week, we randomly assign each other one of those shows. We watch 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program or 2 episodes if it's a normal series, and on that basis, we determine if that show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Let's jump into it, but I think today we're going to probably consider this like a Stream or Skip plus because we got a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So without further ado, what did you assign me to watch this week?
You had a show called The Beast in Me.
On Netflix, Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys. It's a Netflix psychological crime thriller. And I think this is a really, really good example of how subtle the writing and the actors can take a series from being like good to great, making something that is kind of a mooch to something that is, I'm going to call this a must subscribe. I feel like Danes and Rhys have given their characters, after only 3 episodes, so much depth and nuance, and I feel like I really buy them as these characters. You know, like I feel like Matthew Rhys, especially having seen him in The Americans, and Claire Danes having seen her in so many different things like Homeland, I haven't been able to identify them as actors with any specific character. Maybe I can say it that way.
Okay.
And I think I messaged you after I watched the first episode, and I told you we're in must-subscribe territory.
Yeah.
And the way I work that out in my head is after that first episode, if Netflix had a paywall and said, hey, you've got to sign up to watch the next episode, I would have done it. I'm 3 in, and I had to kind of hold myself back from binging it in a way because I didn't want to finish it yet, if that makes sense. I was trying to savor it. And also I just wanted to kind of like let it sink in a little bit and not see the whole thing. And I had like this knee-jerk reaction to the series before we recorded this episode. When I describe it, I don't think you're going to say, wow, that just sounds like an unbelievable plot. I've got to watch that. It's really the actors and how compelling and deep they make their characters, and also the fact that like I really buy their characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like sometimes you watch a series and these characters are believable. You know, like I don't feel like there's anything that's, well, that would never happen, or who would does stuff like that, or that's so silly kind of stuff. Like they're really credible in terms of their dialogue and how they act and their reactions to things. Matthew Rhys plays Niall Jarvis. Like that just sounds like a villain name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he's, of course, a real estate developer, very wealthy guy. And he is been accused. This all takes place kind of outside of New York City. So he moves into this new kind of upscale neighborhood. And he's apparently kind of known throughout the tabloids, throughout the New York area. He's a very wealthy, successful developer. He's controversial. And apparently his wife died / went missing. And there were a lot of accusations that, he killed her. I think the body hasn't been found. Maybe there's a suicide note. But he maintained his innocence. And after like a prolonged investigation, no charges were filed. It wasn't foul play, but there's a lot of suspicion around him. Fair to say. It's very high profile. Claire Danes plays an author, a very similar character to the Pluribus character. And she's had some apparently massive past success But now she's in a little bit of a lull or a rut. And we find out that lull or rut took place because her son died. She was driving and she was hit by someone who she believed was a drunk driver. He refused a breathalyzer on the scene and they took him to jail, and apparently he delayed long enough that when they finally administered a blood test, he came in just under the legal limit. So technically he was not a drunk driver, but he caused the accident and her son died in the accident. She was fine. It's not clear how that happened, but that's it. So she's carrying all this grief with her. It destroyed her relationship. She's single now. Her son died and she hasn't really been able to get over it. And she's in a rut. So her publisher is kind of like, hey, we need those 200 pages. Where are those 100 pages? And she's kind of lying and yeah, it's going well, almost there, reworking it. And she's got nothing, bupkis, zero. So when the Matthew Rhys character moves into her neighborhood, they have a few kind of unpleasant interactions, the dogs and little stuff like this. She knows his reputation, right? I mean, she's aware of him. And she shifts her focus to, instead of this facade that she's proceeding with this book where she's got 0 pages, she pitches her publisher under a lot of stress to deliver something she's apparently received in advance and she's way behind, saying, let me profile this guy. And the publisher initially is a little bit hesitant and then jumps at it. It's that's amazing. If you've got access to the guy and he's into it, yeah, that's a way better idea. And Jarvis is interested in using Claire Danes to kind of exonerate himself because apparently he's got a big project and there's a lot of political pressure to kind of cancel his project. A lot of it has to do with his, public perception. So he views this as a good opportunity to kind of, again, exonerate himself and paint himself in a better line. That's where I've gotten after 3 episodes. The psychological and the crime thriller part of this comes, of course, did he or didn't he? That's partially why I didn't want to finish it because I just don't want the spoiler yet. But that's the setup right now. I mean, that's a compelling, I think, plot, but it's not a wow plot. I feel like you wouldn't just walk into Netflix and be like, okay, well, here's the plot. People would be like, okay, that's a very good plot. We can see that being good, but it's all in the execution, right? And I think that's where this show just really, really shines, is that the Claire Danes character, it's just, she has the right amount of kind of desperation / admiration / fear, for Matthew Rhys, that it's hard to, I think, pull all those off, but I felt like they're all very realistic emotions considering where she is. She needs this book to be successful. She's really in a financially bad place. Her career is struggling. She needs to pander a little bit. She needs this to work, this book to work. She's a little bit afraid of him, and to be honest, not entirely sure whether or not he actually is a killer. She's also got this strange affection for him where, again, I haven't finished it, but if they would hook up romantically, I wouldn't be surprised. So I feel like it's just the execution of this show, which is absolutely fantastic. I really want you to watch it as well. And like I said, I consider this to be must-subscribe territory. I would definitely pay for it. So that is The Beast in Me on Netflix, and I give it a must-subscribe.
Fantastic. I will check it out this weekend.
Okay.
So while you were having a good time, I was having a bad time.
Aww.
I watched a show on Amazon Prime called Steal. Steal as in the theft.
Okay.
It's called Steal because it's a heist show. So, hey, that's kind of fun.
Oh, you love
right?
a good heist. Yeah.
I'm a heist man myself. I love heist stuff. However, there's a couple of things that make this not so fun.
Oh.
One, the premise is that it stars Sansa Stark herself, Sophie Turner.
I love Sansa Stark.
I'm not a huge fan. But she works in a pension fund manager, right? And So let me just make a small caveat. You and I come from the world of finance and corporate finance, and, we've either worked for or interacted with funds and hedge funds and, mutual funds, these kinds of things in our professional lives.
Yep, we know it.
We understand this world, I would say, better than the average person.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we see them represented in TV shows, they're either hyper-realistic, similar to kind of like Industry, right? Which was quite realistic.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit on the sexy side. Or they dumb it down and they really have to make it super clear and obvious because your average person doesn't really know what they're talking about, right? Which is fair enough. This kind of goes in that second version of the
really?
Where they're just like, okay, we're
Dumb
a
it
pension
down.
fund manager, we handle pension funds, and they kept harping on about the fact that this money isn't like the money of like an investor. This is the money of a policeman, a plumber, an electrician, your teachers, your average Joes. So she works for a pension fund manager that handles quite a lot of money, but at the moment they're sitting on circa £4 billion worth of cash. This is set in London.
Okay.
The fund she works for gets robbed by a group of very well-dressed, very well-armed thieves. They know the inside outs of the operations team. So they know how many directors are required to sign off on trades. They know all the operational protocols for this fund.
Oh,
right?
It's an inside job.
Exactly. They break into the office. They have 6 trades that are signed off, like they do in all movies. They hand off a USB drive with 6 trades on it, preloaded. The trades lead to the cash being transferred to an Isle of Man bank account. And all the money is transferred to the gang. All the money that's not invested. So the liquid capital of the bank, or the fund rather, is transferred. As you immediately realized, and as I immediately realized, well, this is clearly an inside job. Because they knew how many people needed to sign off. They knew who needed to sign the digital signatures. They knew that the custodian bank was going to call. They knew that somebody needed to answer the call and give them the appropriate security responses. Stuff that your average criminal would not know, and stuff that varies from fund to fund.
Yeah.
It becomes clear that it's an inside job. And then, of course, by the end of the first episode, it's heavily implicated that Sophie Turner is likely one of the people who's involved. Right?
Okay.
Because she's got no money. She's working for this hedge fund. She's on the ops team. It's a boring job. And then she receives £5 million on a crypto transfer, which she transfers into a cold wallet. And her partner, who also is her boss at the firm, receives that money. It's understood that they gave the criminals their login IDs and the protocols in exchange for £100,000 each, but they each got £5 million. And the reason they did that is because then now it looks like they're part of the team. They didn't just sell the logins. They're part of the team that was involved in the theft.
First of all, I don't see why they paid them more, but $100,000 is like so cheap for like
peanuts.
What's you're doing here, right? Like
peanuts, right? I would have started at 10 million. If you're stealing 4 billion, I would have started at 10, like if it were me.
I probably would have started at 40, but yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean, right? Like exactly. Like that's not like 100,000 is not in the realm of what you're thinking of.
Yeah,
or something like
especially because now there's, first of all, a lot of reasons. Okay.
And then you find out that there's a police officer. He comes in. He's investigating the crime, and his superior is kind of not pushing for the crime to be resolved, even though it's pension fund money, and they're kind of highlighting all the bureaucracies and red tape. On paper, it sounds like a great thriller.
Yeah.
in reality, I mean, honest to God, Sansa has the acting ability, and again, I hate saying this about an actor because this is their professional livelihood, but she doesn't sell it at all.
See, that is totally the difference then between Steel and the Beast in Me, because the Beast in Me, it's like, I really believe they're the characters, and you're saying the opposite, which is premise is okay, could have been amazing. The difference is you don't really believe in what you're seeing, right?
And not just believe, you're just like, I don't know if it's the baggage from Game of Thrones, but like, she looked tired. She looked bored. She looked like this is just another paycheck for me. Like, I want to get in and out. I want to finish my 9 to 5, go home to my mansion, and not have to worry about this TV show.
I mean, this is something I think in common now across both of our shows. It's easier to see this in sports movies, right? In sports movies, you see when people are not very athletic, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're having them throw a baseball, or they're having them run. Like, that person's not athletic. Like, they can't pretend to be a professional baseball player or something. Like, look at how they're throwing, right? Like, they're just not in that world. Especially for, like, finance, for lawyers, for, like, engineers. We'll get to that later. You have to kind of be a method actor. You know, it's easier to kind of play a thug, I think, or a bad guy, because those are so, like, you've just kind of seen that on TV your whole life, and it's a little bit easier to get into that mindset. But I agree, like, if you're playing like a finance professional in the city, like, there's a very specific way that you conduct yourself and that you act, you know? Like in The Beast in Me, I really, really believe Claire Danes is an author. Like, the way that she dresses, the way that she acts, like how her house is kind of like a little bit disheveled. Like, I believe she's an author. That's right. You know, it just tracks. And the same thing with Matthew Rhys. Like, he looks and acts like kind of an aggressive real estate developer. Like, I feel like they're in those mindsets. And it feels like what you've described is that Sophie Turner is like, hey, can you play a finance professional? And she's like, yeah, why not? Like, just give me the lines.
I just need to put on a blouse and
exactly
business pants, and I'll be fine.
Right.
It comes off as unbelievable, and it's the same reason why, for example, the exact opposite with Keanu Reeves and John Wick. He went through the training to become a great gunsmith, right? Like, he can fight with guns, and you see it, like, if you see his training regimen, he really went all in on it. So even though the premise is ridiculous for John Wick, he sells it. He sells the art of assassins. He sells the livelihood of assassins. He sells that whole world. This is a real job that hundreds of thousands of people do around the world, if not millions. You couldn't spend a month in an investment bank in the city of London and learned how these people behave and talk and, you know, conduct themselves. It just didn't come off as anything. So for me, I was just like, look, had it been someone, you know what, even if it was the industry people behind it, I would have been all in on it. And the way they've got this, like, the police officer who's investigating the crime, he's got gambling debts and he's got a gambling issue. And I bet more than anything, the twist is going to be that he's the guy who actually orchestrated the crime.
Is this taking place in modern day London?
Modern day. So yeah, that's the other thing. In terms of production value, you know, it's a very high-end production. Everything's believable except for the acting.
Aren't there like a million CCTV cameras in London? Like, how are they not tracking like the people that did this?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And not just that, it's like that money is recoverable. Yeah. I don't care that it's gone to an offshore bank. It's gone to an offshore bank in the Isle of Man. It's not gone to an offshore bank in like Fiji. Yeah. You know, this is money that it's within the geography of Europe. They can easily get it back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that amount is like absolutely, I agree. The realities of asset tracing don't seem to be tracked there. I'm sorry that Steel is a little bit of a disappointment then. Is this a skip or this is a
this
mooch
is a
then?
skip. This is a skip, and 100% this is blamed on Sansa Stark.
Eek. If I can add a addendum, last week I had on Streamer Skip His and Hers with John Bernthal, Tessa Thompson on Netflix. I think I gave it a mooch, right?
You did.
I'm going to amend it because I watched the end of the series, and I'm going to amend it to a skip.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really, really disappointed I wasted my time. And I'll just, for those who didn't listen last week, just a really quick recap. Tessa Thompson is a news reporter. John Bernthal, her husband, is a sheriff in a small town in Georgia. There's a murder, and there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of who committed the murder, and every potential suspect has a reason or a motive or even the opportunity as to why they did that. John Bernthal was having an affair with the deceased. Tessa Thompson went to like a boarding school with her, and apparently they didn't get along in boarding school, and Tessa Thompson knew that her husband was having an affair with her. A lot of different people, of course, are kind of implicated. I felt there was a lot more shouting in this show than acting. Like, it's John Bernthal's very aggressive personality and Tessa Thompson's kind of, I don't know, I feel like she's a little bit passive aggressive in her acting. It wasn't really that interesting. It was a murder mystery, whodunit, and again, you just go from character to character to character, you learn their backstory, and you're like, well, yeah, it definitely could have been this person. Look at how these motives and facts, line up. I'm giving this a skip because at the end, it was just, I don't know what you call it. It's like in a video game, it's called like a ghost shooter, right? Where people just kind of like appear out of nowhere and start shooting at you, right?
Yeah.
This is just like ghost characters. Like, all these people just came out of like nowhere, and they're like, aha, this person used to be named this person, and it must be the daughter of this person. And it wasn't allowing you to do a natural deduction based on facts. And that bothers me about shows. Like, I want to be right because I put things together. I saw through things, not because the writers just decided to like make some big reveals and give me information that I couldn't even have known. I couldn't have guessed. They just randomly decided to like add stuff in the last 2 episodes to like keep, it was like an ocean, like just battering you, like flipping you upside down. Oh, it's this person because of this. I'm like, no way. And I'd be like, no, actually it's this person because of this. No way. No, actually it's this person because of this. It was just throwing random stuff at me, to be honest. I don't like the outcome. And then, of course, typical kind of Netflix. Maybe that's unfair to Netflix. But then, of course, at the very, 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 very end, then there's something that makes you like question, oh, but is that really what happened? Skip. Save your time.
Okay.
Don't watch His and Hers. Watch The Beast in Me instead.
Okay, good caveat. I like that. Maybe we can talk about what we're seeing next week.
Oh, yes, let's do that.
All right, so next week you are going to be on HBO Max watching a show called Full Circle.
Full Circle?
Yeah.
All right.
And I will be on Netflix watching a show called All Her Fault.
Okay.
Getting on to the main story of this week.
The main event.
The main event. You got to see a movie that's not out for me this week. It's out next week, but I will watch it next week. You saw it. Plot twist. I've already read the book. Shall we talk about Project Hail Mary?
Let's talk about Project Hail Mary, which I think is the first major release of 2026. Kind of blockbuster-ish, right?
I would think, yeah. Let's put it this way. It's the first major movie we've both wanted to see together.
Yeah, that's right. Starring Ryan Gosling. I was not aware it was based on a book until I guess I saw the trailer and read a little bit about it. And let me give you my background on this. I remember seeing the trailer maybe late 2025. And the first trailer I saw, it was cut as though this was going to be kind of a comedy. It had a lot of the jokes and the levity in it, and it wasn't really a serious science movie. And then I think they recut it, and there was a second trailer, and the second trailer was closer to The Martian. Remember the old Matt Damon? Closer to The Martian than it was the first trailer. So I don't know if they repositioned it or if that was part of their strategy. That's how I was introduced to this. And then probably the last several weeks, I don't want to say I've been reading about it, but I've gotten the sense that this is a pretty big deal. The novel apparently was on the New York Times #1 seller for like 28 straight weeks. That this is a big intellectual property, and I should be taking it seriously. That's my background of what I knew about this prior to going to the cinema. Tell me about what you understood.
So I've read the book. I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. He is the guy who wrote The Martian.
When did you read the book? Like a year ago? Like 10 years ago?
Oh, no. I read this like 5 years ago when the book came out.
Okay.
So I've been clocked on to Andy Weir because of The Martian. I saw the movie, read the book, loved his book, read the Project Hail Mary when it came out. He's got another one called Artemis, I think. Something like that. That's also, which is set on the moon. Also a very good book. He is famous for hard science fiction, right? So this is science fiction, but based or grounded in real science. It's not science fiction like photon torpedoes and lightsabers from Star Wars and Star Trek. This is science fiction in the sense that it's not likely to ever happen, but if it were to happen, we're going to make it based on real science. So, this is how you make water. This is how you could theoretically create a spacecraft that can travel millions of miles away, and so forth.
I'm sure it's not, but this is not the same person who wrote The Three-Body Problem, right?
It is not, no.
Because that's also kind of one of those, should we say, realistic sci-fis, right? Okay. So this is a big deal for you as well then, right?
Yeah. I was
guy who
very
wrote The
much
Martian.
pleased with it. I was looking forward to it for a long time. I saw the first trailer, and then I stopped watching all the trailers. So, technically speaking, there are no spoilers for me.
Okay.
But I don't know the direction that the movie's going to go or what they're going to change, so I didn't want to watch any more of the trailers. Because I saw the first trailer, I saw they spoiled one of the things that happens in the movies, and I thought that was a real shame because I think that would have made the movie, I think it would have been a big surprise for audience members.
All right, let me ask you this. I didn't know that the same person wrote The Martian. You read The Martian before you saw the movie?
No, I read The Martian because I saw the movie.
Okay. Which did you like better, the book or the movie? That's hard to ask when you see the movie first, I know.
Yeah, no, but in general, I like the books better.
I think that for Project Hail Mary, if you really love the book, assuming that the book has a similar tone as The Martian, I think you will dramatically like the book better and feel a little bit disappointed by the movie, by parts of the movie.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. Let me first go into my experience, and then I'll talk a little bit about it, because there's going to be spoilers for listeners who haven't read the book or the movie, and I think for you as well, that's okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I saw this on a Thursday, technically a Friday, at 2:30 in the morning, which is my normal time at the cinema, as you know. And usually I go on that time because I've got my routine, but it's super quiet there. I can just kind of do my own thing, grab a seat, throw popcorn in the air, catch it in my mouth, and then I like to walk to a nearby breakfast place that's opening just when the sun's coming up. It's my little thing, And usually I'm always kind of like, what other three psychopaths are in this movie at 2:30, and what dude brought his wife, to like this movie? Like, man, that's tough. Yesterday, because it was a holiday, it was packed. Now, first caveat, the cinema was only like a 50 or 75 person cinema. And it was like in each row, there was only like one seat open, like dead in the middle. So it's kind of like if they're like, it was like a row of 9 and there'd be like 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, right?
Yeah.
Like there's only like that one middle seat in every row that was available. So I'm like, do I really want to sit between 2 couples, no elbow room, no cup holders, no anything? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in the front row, which was not a horrible viewing experience, but I wouldn't voluntarily do it again. My knee-jerk reaction to the movie, I liked it. I liked the movie. It's positive, good vibes, no sex, no vulgarity, no drug use. Like it's just, you can watch it with your parents. It's not political. It's just straight to the point. It's enjoyable. What I didn't like about it, and this is without having read the book, is that Gosling is probably not the right actor for this, because there is like 2 different parts of the movie that he's either really, really goofy, and it's kind of like, what am I watching here? Like, this guy's supposed to be the best of the best. He's supposed to be the scientist. He's supposed to be like all, right? And he's just goofy, like wearing these silly hats and kind of like drinking the vodka out of the pouch and wearing the sunglasses. Like, there's a time when he's kind of acting like the Big Lebowski, and I get there's like some trauma in this. And then there's times when he's like, he's got his glasses askew and he's like kind of this nutty professor and he's so brilliant and he can't stop writing on the whiteboard. And, is that a thing in the book where he's got his glasses kind of like half on, half off, like around his ears or something?
I don't remember that specific detail.
Look, Ryan Gosling is like double handsome, right? Like you can't hide the fact that he's just like double handsome guy. The fact that he's trying to play kind of this disheveled, absent-minded professor, sometimes I don't buy him, to be honest, in either role. So I found that if I'm nitpicking, I found the character is not at all consistent throughout the movie. He's either really, really goofy or he's just like so into the science that he forgot that his glasses are on top of his head, right? So I think there's 2 fails. I think, to be honest, he's honestly not the right guy for this role. Like Matt Damon, I thought was the right guy for The Martian. That's the role for him. He seemed to have fit the character. Again, I never read the book. Ryan Gosling, I don't think is the guy that would be perfectly cast. Or if he is the guy, they kind of wrote 2 different characters for him to play and said, okay, well, in this scene, you've got to really be like goofy and silly and play it up a little bit, And now, okay, tone that down. You're in your hard science mode, like get serious. If I'm making a complaint, that's my only complaint about the movie, which is a big complaint because he's really the only character in the movie. But aside from that nitpicking, I really liked it. If my mom wanted to go and I had to see it again, I wouldn't balk at seeing it again. I wouldn't be like, oh no. But I also wouldn't be like, for example, Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, yeah, I've seen it, but I don't mind. Let's go again. I wouldn't be that way if someone wanted to go who hadn't seen it. I'd be like, I saw it. I'd be like, oh, well, do you mind seeing it again? I'm like, no, I'll see it again. But I wouldn't be like, yeah, let's go see it again. I'll see it again. Does that make sense how I'm describing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's, I think I read, having gotten home like a couple hours ago, I read kind of some of the differences, and there are some big differences, but generally I feel like it definitely followed the major points. Didn't really love the character. This is an experiment that I wanted to do. Rocky the alien, right? Spoiler alert. You read the book, so you don't really know what he looks like.
No.
But you have an image in your head, right?
Yeah.
And I watched the movie, but I never read the book, so I don't know what the book describes. So I asked you to draw me what you think the character looks like. And I'm going to look at it for the first time, okay?
Yeah. Imagine this drawing covered in rocks.
No, but it's not totally wrong.
Okay.
You're technically kind of right, but it's not.
Okay.
Do you want me to say more about that, or do you want me to keep it as a...
No, go for it.
I feel like your character is more huggable and cute, and the character on screen is, I don't want to say gritty, but not, you know, like the Ewoks, for example, from Star Wars. Those are characters that are meant to be loved, or the Minions, right?
Yeah.
Like those are characters meant to be loved and made into pillows and stuffed animals and toys, and right, they're cute, they're lovable, they're adorable. And I think what you drew is more akin to that, whereas the character depicted has basically the same elements that you've drawn, but not an Ewok, not a Minion, not a furry, lovable little thing.
Right.
I'll leave it at that, because I do want there to be some surprise. You know me. I mean, I've cried at like, I don't know, 75, this is an unscientific number, 75% of like all movies I've seen. I've cried on airplanes. I've cried in cinema. Like, I'm very open about the fact that movies always get me. This one, which is somehow a bromance. I mean, is that what the book depicts?
Yeah, they become close. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't cry. And I didn't even kind of try to like hold back tears. I could see how this was really trying to develop into that deep friendship that they wanted me to feel, you know? I didn't get there. And I think it's more on Gosling than on the character, to be honest.
Okay.
I like Ryan Gosling. Like, to be honest, I think he's super funny. I love everything he's in, from Saturday Night Live to whatever else. But I can't say they utilized his best gifts in this film. I think they either asked him or he decided to play kind of two different characters. And one was this really goofy character, and one was kind of making himself into this really more serious scientist than his blonde hair and, you know, good looks kind of suggest.
Right.
That's Project Hail Mary. I definitely think people should see it in cinemas. I think it's a very, very good movie. There's some incredible visual scenes that, honestly, if this was on an IMAX, it would be wow. There are some really killer shots. Like I said, the movie itself, 2.5 hours, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like Avatar where I was like, well, just end this already. It flowed. I really enjoyed it. But I don't think it's an all-time great. I don't think it's Academy Award fodder.
Okay.
That is our extra credit. Ryan Gosling, Believe in the Hail Mary.
All right. I'll reaffirm that review for you next week when I watch it on Friday.
Yeah. I'm thrilled for you to see it.
Just a quick note. So speaking of alien movies, I ended up seeing War Machine on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. What did you think?
Oh, it's a big fat skip for me. I thought Alan Ritchson was fine. I just thought what really got me actually wasn't the movie, it was the visual effects. The visual effects were so bad, and you were so right about how the alien was so uninspiring. I mean, it was just awful.
Do you remember how I described the alien?
Yeah, as they could not have put less time on it.
Yeah, but didn't I just say it was a B-2 bomber with legs?
Yeah, which it exactly was. It looked like an unfinished Transformer from the 80s.
Yeah, I really think that it was just like the least creative alien machine they could have made. But to me, I think it's exactly a precise description. It's a B-2 bomber, and they just gave it the legs of an AT-AT.
Yeah.
Pete, before we sign off for the day, can you read off our YouTube social media creds so that our listeners can like us, launch us, respond to us, and also send me their drawings of what they think this alien being Rocky is going to look like?
Absolutely. Leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you know when the next episode of the Films and Stuff podcast drops for you.
Could not have said it better myself. Pete, thank you for your visual and auditory contributions today. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. We shall see you next week, next episode, Films and Stuff Podcast.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.